Merry Christmas, everyone. We are live. We're doing a surprise live stream. Dion and I and Matt usually talk 8 a.m. Pacific on Wednesdays. Unfortunately, it is 11 a.m. on East Coast time, and Matt is likely deep in Christmas presents. So we will wish him and his family a Merry Christmas and all of that. But Dion said, hey, I don't want to miss our thing, so we're just going to go live and see who's out there, see who's watching. So how you doing, Dion?
I'm doing great. Yeah, it's a little easier to do a live on Christmas when your kids are older and have moved out. And it only takes me like an hour to open all of the boxes of guns that I bought myself this year. So very sad about that boating accident next week where I lost them all, though.
Oh, yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible. So I'm just curious. I'm not a gun guy. What did Santa bring you this year?
Taurus 357 Magnum pocket gun. Nice carry.
Damn.
Yeah.
Oh, does Matt want the invite? Lumberjack,
Oh,
we thought you would
bring
be
him
on Christmas. Let's see if he wants an invite. He's probably just teasing us. I don't know. I'll send it to him. Let's see.
Oh, it'd be great if he can come in here.
I just assumed he'd be playing Santa.
Yeah, we can have another debate where everybody sides with him. That'd be great.
Yeah. Yeah, based on the votes, Dion, you lost.
Yeah, it was like 80-20, I think, the Pareto effect. And
Yeah. Yeah. So Matt, just so you know, it just went out. You got the invite coming. It was no disrespect. We just wanted to be respectful of dad duty. We remember what it was like having little kids. Yeah. So how big is this? I'm not a gun guy. A pocket
gun,
mag?
Very small. They're very small.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then of course nobody's collection is complete without another Glock every year. Right.
Oh, you got to get the latest Glock.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And then you go on a boat, you drop them in the lake. I got it.
Yeah.
It's just an accident.
Lost them forever and ever. It's terrible.
Yeah. Very cool. All right. I saw that you had to break down and you had to mention the unmentionables yesterday. There's a channel out there that I refuse to mention, but you actually said their name. I think it's like Beetlejuice, man. You can't say that guy's name.
It is, and then I end up blocking quite a few people because the lack of intellect required to back up somebody who's been consistently wrong for 5 years straight with a new reason every 2 days. And I completely blame Matt, the lumberjack landlord, for me having to put up with that yesterday. I mean, it's a great reel. He's really good at what he does. The guy that we won't mention. He knows how
not on my channel. Not doing that.
He knows how to get attention. He knows how to put up a picture to where it makes
look at this cute picture.
What he says. All right.
Hi. All right. You win the cute factor.
I always win the cute factor, you old people. Say hi, Eliana.
Hi, little
one. This is Eliana. That's Mr. Dion and Mr. Zuber. Yeah. Yeah, we had Christmas at 7 a.m. Eastern time.
Oh.
4 a.m. Pacific time.
That's the dragon fruit.
What?
You don't eat dragon fruit.
He eats dragon fruit? No.
I do eat dragon fruit.
I mean, probably. How'd you know that? Tell you, she beats cancer and then she knows everything.
That's right. This is the human miracle right there, right?
This is the miracle, baby. Yeah. Share a Christmas miracle with everybody. She is just a little over 2 years cancer free.
Nice.
And so she's good. All her scans are good. And now she's finally moving back to scans every 6 months instead of 90 days. So that's a big,
nice.
Yeah, it's so awesome. So yes, it's a miracle. But yeah, every 90 days, it was a CT scan, a bone scan, an MRI. Every 90 days, and it was it has to be put under, and yeah, I know that's Mr. Zuber.
Hey, what did you get for Christmas? What'd you get for Christmas?
What'd you get for Christmas? I know what I got you, but what'd you get? What do you know I got you? What'd you get? We were just playing with them upstairs. You know, magnet tiles. Big thing for kids this age, magnet tiles. Okay. Right. So magnetic tiles that they put all together. All right, you want to go upstairs and do magnet tiles with Mom?
You have a pirate cup.
He does have a pirate cup. Painfully obvious. Yeah. Yep. Watching YouTube with her is a lot of fun. Yeah. That guy's wrong, Dad. I was like, I know.
I know.
Don't worry, Dan, we weren't watching you. We were watching a Crash Bro.
Yeah. I don't know. Did you see I don't know if you read the comments, Matt, but just so you know, the debate, you won.
Yeah.
It was
It
about-
wasn't even close. Let's
It
be
was
honest.
80-20. Yeah. it
Yeah.
was-
If that close, but
Oh,
that's
come
all right.
on.
I still reserve the right for 20% of people that watch you to be wrong.
It's so okay.
I mean, in all honesty, Dion makes it easy on me. He always takes a contrarian view, and contrarian views are hard. Here, go up and play with Mom. You can play your Magnetiles with Mom. I love you.
Oh.
Yeah, just a little bit. I'll come up. I'll finish. Don't worry. There's plenty there to build. But yeah, I think that's the challenging part. And I mean, I certainly get Dion's case because obviously it's not like we're funding that money. It just becomes mine. Because I am the owner. But anyway, yeah, I thought Dion's live last night was awesome. If people haven't watched it, they should go back and watch it.
We're not mentioning the guy's name, by the way. We just
I
call
won't,
him the
that's fine.
unmentionable.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he's fun. But literally I saw that and I was like, who'd get the most annoyed if I sent this to them? Dion would. And I was like, I'm pushing Dion right into the rabbit hole for everybody else. So yeah, I mean, the guy's just, I mean, again, it was, you do a little bit of work, like this much work. And what I love that Dion did was he literally jumped in. He goes, okay, stop the clip. 8 seconds in and let's go look at it. And he goes and he looks at it. And sure enough, the guy's like, oh, it's down to 1850 and he can't even rent it. And Dion, what'd you find?
Section 8 will pay $23.40. And there was no rental in the area under 2,000. There were a few rentals on Zillow. We actually went and looked up if you were looking to buy a rental or if you were looking to do a rent box study or start your rent box study.
Right.
That
You can
almost every Crash Bro video you could break down and go, okay, here's the data they've shown you. Here's why it's flawed. Here's why it's not showing you what they're telling you it's showing you. But they know what they're doing. They know how to get views.
Yeah, it's funny. So I obviously I had my interaction with his fans a couple of years ago, which was not fun because they're so passionately wrong and broke.
They're not informed.
But they're no, well, not in their mind. In their mind,
No.
they're committed, right? They're committed to this story, right? And anybody who talks bad about that story is like Republicans and Democrats. They must be killed. They must be crushed. It's like, gosh, you guys are, you're living in a echo chamber. You don't even consider the other side.
Well, I mean, just pick a reel that you completely disagree with. No joke. And then scroll for the next half hour. Every reel will be something you disagree with. Like the algorithm's on point. Like,
oh yeah,
good luck to these guys. You want to continue to push a narrative that's, the self bias. Keep on doing, like, just go on anything with an algorithm. And that's the problem, is that's what further divides us and doesn't allow for intelligent conversation. You have all these little nit-nat points. I'm sorry, but we just have the numbers. That's all, just the numbers.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So
again, we're open to being wrong, right? We put it all out there and it's just fun. Normally, so I appreciate everybody, lots of shout outs to Ileana and Merry Christmas and Miracle Baby and all of that. So thank you. But as always, guys, if you have a question, throw it in the chat. We're just going to riff as friends. We're going to go till about 9 a.m. Pacific. So another 50 minutes, but as always, we are here for you. So feel free to ask questions. Guys, I don't know. I think Dion saw it. Matt, you may not have seen it. Yeah. I did a little different daily financial news this morning.
Didn't see that.
You did?
Then I was playing Santa. Yeah.
Oh,
I didn't see that. Yeah, I didn't see that.
That's right.
Actually, it was probably cinnamon bun, but go ahead.
Yeah. I went through the 24 millionaires that come back on the channel and basically said something nice, what I've learned from each of you. So I thought maybe we would, maybe I would ask you, what are one or two people that, it doesn't have to be somebody on our channel, but just one or two things, one or two things you've learned for people over the years as we get people to ask questions.
It's not fair. There's like 37 people that are going to be left off the list. Like by far 30, like it's tons. I mean, honestly, the people I learned the most from are probably you two. Dion will always give me the contrarian view of whatever I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And what's good about that is that I'm willing to listen. That's where it starts, right? It starts with being willing to listen. Two, it also is important that I'm not going to offend him and piss him off if I still
Right.
disagree. Same thing here. That was actually an attitude that I had to adopt from him, because I was just like, listen, because for me, any decision that I've made has been, let's just say, vetted heavily. Right. And so it was based on tons of experience and tons of figuring it out and learning and knowledge. And I respect the same about both of you. So if you have a contrarian view on something, I will absolutely listen, because I respect you guys, and you guys have been super successful and just got there a different way. And so definitely you two guys. I think outside of you guys, love Brian Lebo, because, obviously we'll buy something in Vegas one day. So love the depth, love how well somebody knows everything about a market. Like
He's
that.
amazing. Brian is amazing.
And not just like, hey, this is what happened in the last 6 months. It's like, hey, so 10 years ago, based on my data, that's the kind of broker everybody needs to have for their city. But those are the few and dime a dozen that I think are the brokers that are recession proof. They will always win. Their earnings might be down a little bit, but they'll always win. So definitely him. Coach Carson, definitely learned a lot from him, small and mighty investor. It was a second opinion of like what Dion had, which was like, I suppose you can be small. Like, I
guess it's okay.
I guess it's okay. And so it made that, so it was like hearing it from a second person. I was like, yeah, I suppose that makes it all right. I think what Millennial Mike does continues to mystify me, being able to do all that he does, single dad work, doing it in a third party market, one that Dion's Christmas gift will come in handy in, and I think what's really funny about that is that, that's what a lot of people just say about Gary, right? Because they read the stats,
right?
Get boots on the ground. Shut up. Just literally get boots on the ground and go figure it out. So yeah, so many, and definitely I'd say, really, truly, everybody on the channel, I watch pretty much everybody, but the stock guys, just because I don't do anything stock, and don't want to listen to something and go, crap, now I got to do that too.
I don't need more stuff to do.
Yeah, they're that good. I'm just like, they teach me that they give me the secrets, and then I got to go do it. But Derek, that ADU guy, brother from another mother. Like I watch his posts. When he's building an ADU, when I've built stuff, when we've added an addition on or any of that other stuff, I'm just like, there's one guy that's going to know exactly, like, knees deep, elbows deep, standing in sludge. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
More, dealing with a moratorium with a city on not being able to cut up a road. Yeah. I'm just like, just happened to me 3 months ago. Of course it did. So it just so many, what you've done and what you've put together with so many different people from diverse backgrounds and success paths. That's the biggest, most important thing. It's like a couple dozen different success paths, and that's, you never know which way you're going to gravitate towards. I think it's largely personality driven. Mm-hmm. And then part of it is going to be effort driven, and so you can do the slow is smooth and smooth is fast and get to your rentals and do your thing. So, or you can decide that, I don't want to figure out what I can live on. I want to figure out what gives me, gets me, Viking cruises and that sort of cool stuff where it's just like, I have no problem dropping massive coin on a cruise type of thing, Yeah. So yeah, I think that's the coolest part about the community.
Nice. Dion, we'll go to you and then we'll jump into some questions. What are some people that you've learned from?
So, you, in your update this morning and Matt together, you kind of put together the list of people, right? So I don't want to exclude anybody, but I can honestly say the reason that I want to say thanks is if I wasn't in the one rental at a time community, I would probably still be working. And it's not because I didn't have the resources or I had acquired the rentals when I found you in 2018. I had just reached financial independence. And I was like, okay, well, I would have liked to have known this for the last 5 years. This would have made things a lot easier. Mm-hmm. But I was in a job I was happy with. And I thought you acquire assets so that you have a better retirement. And retirement was like when I'm way too old to work.
Right.
And then I get around people who are thinking a different way, who there's a guy, Joe Kuhn on YouTube, who invests in stocks, and he talks about retire to something, not from something.
Yeah.
When I was working, I never really had a to retire to. Right. But now I retired to, you had that 6 months where you were like, I don't know if I should go back to work. I don't know what I've done, if this is a mistake. I knew I wasn't going to have that, because before I retired, I got involved in the community and I found people who can get on the path to doing this. So while 97% of my time is spent goofing off, right? Scuba, paddleboard, gaming, whatever. That 3% is what I retired to. And I got to do that because of this community. So that's awesome.
Yeah. And again, folks, I don't know if you guys heard, but we are 50 days away from Vegas. 50 days, 50. It's going to be here in a minute. We still got tickets available, which I will admit shocks me. I thought it would sell out faster. But maybe a lot of people were waiting for the new year or whatnot. But get your tickets. Once they're gone, they're gone. I will not be able to add any seats. We're taking it to the maximum. So, I hope to see everybody there. My events are like no other. This community events are like no other. Q&A, no selling. We don't need to sell it. People will come if they want to, and that's okay. So I have our first question, at least the first one that I saw. I think this is Chester. What are your goals for 2025, either real estate or non-related? Dion, we'll go to you first. What are you looking forward to do in 25?
Well, something I've failed at now for 2 years because of the burr and the some health issues with my brother. But my goal in 2025 is to spend more time out of the U.S. than in it.
Oh,
and not to do anything with politics, because I'm actually happy with the way the thing went this year. I want to spend time in Thailand scuba diving. I have not been to Scotland, and I want to go to Scotland for the summer. And so that's the non-real estate aspect that I get to enjoy because of real estate. And then the real estate aspect is there's a coin spinning in the air. Right now it's the Schrodinger's choice. I don't know if I want to sell my burr or do a cash out refinance and add another, or start another house hack. I mean, it's that quote I've used from my daughter that she said when she was a teenager many times. I say, it's really hard to make a choice when both outcomes are positive.
Yeah.
And so I don't know which one's going to be the better to take, or which one I'm actually going to go. I have no clue.
Yeah. Well, it's fun. It's fun to have options.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's fun to have options. Sure. All righty, big boy, Matt, what do you got on your agenda? You got this jail thing you got going on. You got this little pet project to prove Dion's an idiot, flipping a house or whatever the hell you're doing. What's
flipping a house in less than 20 hours.
Yes, right. Total of 20 hours. Yeah.
Yes, total of 20 hours. Yeah. I mean, if you're wondering whether or not landlording works, we're just going to start showing bands, like literally bands. Like we're sitting here and one of these shows up, and that's what it's like to start being a landlord. And then you're a little landlord for a little bit longer, and another one of these shows up, and then you just boom, there you go. And then another one shows up just like this, and you're like, wow, that's really cool. Let's keep on doing it. Then you're like, oh my word, another band show up. This is fantastic. I love this process. And it just keeps on going. And so then you're like, hey, it's another few days into the month, and boom, there's another band. That's pretty cool. And then, just another day later, boom, there's a band. And you know what? But then you got to give some of the bands away because you got to pay for the mortgage. But then guess what? Another band shows up. So the goal is to make this stack bigger this year. I know that a lot of times the audience is able to, it helps with visual aids.
Yes.
And so this will be 2025 will be our most profitable year yet. It'll be our most profitable year yet by far.
And part of that's probably because a lot of the stuff you bought is exiting the remodel phase. So you're no longer putting capital in. So now you're
correct
soaking up the cash flow.
Yeah. We've basically spent about $100,000 a month for the last 19 months, maybe.
Yeah.
About 100 a month for
anybody
months.
Counting. That's 1.9 million. Just
it's true.
Not counting.
It's true. Exactly. And you need an econ degree to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
So at least try to better deploy it. But yeah, I mean, there's, we spend about $100K a month. There's no end of that in sight until probably, I think, beginning part of this year, which is what's the most exciting. You get to finally see all the, blood, sweat, and tears that you put into these massive projects. The massive ones are the, the jail and the, I've spent 6 months waiting for town approval, city approval, department approval, firehouse approval, fire engineer approval. There's a reason why there's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow for developers. There's a reason it's there. It's because it sucks. Every day sucks getting there. However, the reason that we're doing the less than 20-day burr, aside to prove Dion wrong, and that time can be worth $37.50 an hour. And that's valuable to everybody.
By the way, folks, that's $3,750
yes.
an hour.
Yes, not $37.50.
Yeah.
Yes. That's a good clarification. But I think what's really cool about that is that you can absolutely, tackle these small projects. You don't have to do it like a burr and have risk. You can do it with a construction loan, a 203K, streamline. There's tons, like Convoy has an amazing flip program, like phenomenal. Those guys are great. Spent some time talking with them over the last few months, thinking just of some ideas of some things we might want to do with the portfolio. But yeah, I would say this year it's about finally seeing the return of the biggest projects we've ever done.
How about those two houses? Is one still in escrow or what's going on?
So
there?
one we're due to close on in about a week. We're just past the first of the year. I actually asked to push it past the first of the year. I'm going to put it in an exchange because it's about $1,000 bucks. So I'm going to put it in a 1031 exchange, but look and see if I can find a great deal to identify in 45 days.
Right.
But if it breaks, I'm okay.
Yeah.
If it breaks, I don't care. I'll pay.
I think that's the right idea. I mean, when in doubt, we do put stuff in 1031s, but I won't be an idiot and do a bad deal. It's like,
no, exactly. And so it gives you, for those of you who don't know, it's basically if it's a good enough size deal, so out of that deal, I think we'll get about maybe $250,000 in proceeds, right around there. And so that $250,000, I can either pay the long-term capital gains tax on about 20%.
And depreciation recapture.
And depreciation recapture. So I can pay that, or I can put it in a 1031 exchange, which costs me only about $1,000, maybe $1,200 to put it in. Mm-hmm. And then I can wait 45 days to identify something. If I can't identify something, then we'll just kill the exchange then.
Yep.
If I can identify one or two deals, I'll identify them. And then I have 180 days to whether or not I close them. Right. So I could. The other cool thing about that 1031 exchange, and again, you have to ask your accountant about this, but my understanding is that I can then take that income in this year or in next year, depending when I file. So even though if I had closed this year in 1031 and then the exchange had failed, I could put it in this year or in next year based on it failing. That's my understanding. That could be wrong. So check with your certified tax professional on 1031 specialists.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the goal, is to finally see some of those major payoffs, because just the three projects that we have right now will be about over $20,000 in monthly income. That's gross or net? Gross. Net will be about another 9.
There you go. That's nothing bad with that.
Good number.
Obviously, my goal for 2025 is I'm going to take my health serious. It's something I haven't really done ever, frankly. I don't think I've ever taken a vitamin. I don't think I've ever talked to a doctor. I don't go to doctors. I despise going to doctors. Yeah. But I got my blood work scans done, and it's just going to be fun for me to hold myself accountable for something I've never done. Right. I was addicted to CrossFit for a long time, but again, I wasn't taking care of my health and getting injured all the time. And it's just going to be fun to do something I've never done before. And again, I want to give Jessley Itzler the credit for this, right? He's the guy that kind of said, make every year, do something hard every year. It really worked for me in 23 what are we in 24? That marathon thing, I'll never forget. It'll always be my anchor for 24. Yeah. Never do it again. By the way, I've decided, no, thanks. One and done, I'm out. But yeah, I will always be doing something hard. I never want another year like 2023, right? You go on some crazy vacations, you do some crazy things, and you think it was a shit year. I didn't grow. So that'll never happen again. But that's my 2025 for sure. We got another question here. We'll go to you first, Matt, this time.
Yeah.
When do you think rates will have a 5 handle? We're talking 30-year mortgage, I'm going to assume. And why? Why do you think we get there?
I think that there's a lot of stimulus coming, and I don't think that those rates are going to go down. I think that Trump is going to goose the economy. I think rates are going to stay high. The only way that we see them is, something comes of all the drones in New Jersey. If we start to see like real saber rattling where the market's really starting to get actually really nervous, it's hard to do that when Bitcoin's at an all-time, close to an all-time high, the market's all-time high, houses still largely an all-time high. Let's goose it. That's not the problem. That's not the problem. Yeah. So I think a 5 handle, I would be surprised. So excluding new construction where they can fake it to make it and pay it down, like real market. Possible this year, but it's going to be based on massive job loss. I'm thinking probably maybe 2026, but even then possibly not likely. Like unless the jobs really start to grab a hold and we really start to see massive job disruption, like AI actually really getting heavily implemented, and you start seeing companies start laying off and then they don't stop laying off, like 5,000 and then 5,000.
Right.
And then 5,000. I can tell you, congratulations to all the Amazon workers. That's a great thing. They just made sure that AI happens faster. Well done.
Yeah. So just so we put numbers on it, when you say stay high, are you saying 7 handle, 6 handle?
Yeah, I think high 6s in the 7s. I think it's 6 set. Yeah. I definitely think it's in the 6s and the 7s because you can always buy down. You can buy down a quarter to a half a point if you want to spend that much money. But as far as commercially available for the average person with, typical income, I still think that they're going to juice it. I think, how could they juice it? Trump could come out and say, hey, listen, we're going to subsidize your mortgage and we're going to put it where you can get basically into a 5.5, and they do that by credits via the back door through Fannie Freddie to the mortgage servicers, the banks.
And those would probably, again, if they did that, I never thought about that, but that would likely only be on purchases and likely only purchases for first-time home buyers would be my guess.
Correct. But what does that do? That makes all your 37, 38 single family homes, go up another 5 to 10%. And it's like, okay, now it's time to exit and buy some more distressed assets. If you wanted to do that.
Yeah. So Dion, what are you thinking? Do you see any chance for 5%? A 5 handle?
I know the exact date that rates go down.
All right, Nostradamus.
Okay. So Kris has a question here. It's when will rates hit the 5s? Because I want to get out of some hard money. The first thing with hard money is getting out of hard money doesn't always mean we want a lower interest rate than the hard money is. What we want is an interest rate that's fixed that isn't as high as the hard money goes to if we don't get out in time. Right? That's hard money has a 12-month, 18-month, whatever, where it's okay. If you haven't gotten out of it by now your rate goes to 15% or 18%, something ridiculous, right? So get into fixed rate debt, even if we don't get into the 5s, to avoid what happens at the end of hard money. But interest rates come down the exact same day home prices skyrocket.
Yeah.
So if rates hit 5, that's going to be the same day. So I'm not saying the specific date. I'm just saying it's that day. People will come out of the woodwork and start making ridiculous offers and get into bidding wars and try to lock in this lower interest because that's more important than the price of whatever they're paying or the payment, because people have short memories. I think the unknown, the thing that could be the black swan event, is how serious we go with tariffs after January 20th.
Yep.
And so if enough tariffs go into play to disrupt things, I think Q3 could be when we go to the 5% to encourage businesses to borrow, to bring those jobs back to the U.S. that the tariffs are trying to do, to build the warehouses, to staff the warehouses, to fund all of that. So if tariffs are a big enough disruptor, Q3. If tariffs are just a ripple, 2026, when we get somebody to replace Powell.
I think that's, again, I'm on record saying I think rates are going to average 7%. Probably not what you wanted to hear, Kris, but that's, I haven't changed my tune. I do think it's interesting that last statement you brought up, Dion, when they replaced Powell. And I think that's April of 26. I think
that's right.
So I think you're right. I don't think there's any question that Trump will nominate someone who is friendly to his cause. And by then, because again, you got to remember that will be into the second year of his term, and they have midterms at the end of that month or into that year, excuse me, November. Yeah, he's going to want to have. Yeah, I think that. So let's call it summer. I'll call summer of 26. As a best guess.
I think 2025 is going to be a year of pain.
Yeah, it's going to suck for
because he's got to.
It's going to suck. Oh,
I mean, sort of like yeah.
It's going to suck for a lot of people, but not the people that do the work, right? Disrespectful offers.
Exactly.
Not our community, but
no.
Our community is 1%, if that. But I just remembered it. I remember being 11 or 12 years old in 81, 82, being hungry, eating ramen noodles as my only meal, eating a baked potato because it's all we could. Oh, it just sucked.
Yeah. Well, and imagine what this general sentiment's going to be. We've all lived through multiple recessions. We lived through them as kids and we lived through them as adults. If you are 14 years old, you have no idea. If you are 24 years old, you have no idea because you were 9 or 10 and maybe or 14, actually 17 years ago now. If you're 18, if you're 20, like you weren't feeling that as a 3-year-old.
No.
So it's like truly like 24, 25, like maybe your parents moved and they were able to explain it away. But if you're like late 20s, yeah, I mean, at that point you've kind of lived through one, but outside of that, I mean, a majority of the country has not ever seen anything tick back except for COVID.
So you kind of touched on 2025 is going to suck, right? So Crash Bros will grab that and go, look, even these real estate investors are saying it's going to be a bad year, but there are benefits.
So let's break that down. Yeah. And let's be clear. When I say it's going to suck, it's me, Michael, being heartfelt for
people that aren't prepared.
Consumers. Real estate prices aren't coming down. Single family real estate's not coming down.
If prices don't come down and rates stay high, it's harder to buy. When
Correct.
It's harder to buy, what happens to a lot of home buyers? They become more renters. More renters pushes up rental demand. So maybe rents don't go up, but they sure don't stay flat. They sure don't go down. Demand doesn't go. You don't have to lower your standards over and over and over, like the video from the live stream. Oh, it's at 1850 and it's going to sit forever. And no, it's not there now. So there are benefits to the market that we find ourselves in. It's challenging. It's harder to find the deals. And then I would go back to the very first Norris Drive. You buy Norris Drive. How much do you make per month? And when you bought it that first year?
Two to 250 before I refied. Yeah.
A couple $100, right?
Yep.
It's possible to buy deals right now that make a couple $100. And people will say, no, it's too hard. It takes too long. It takes too many of those. Because those first few years do suck, do go slow. And aren't going to be a massive change to your finances right away.
Yeah. We have a question here about the 1% rule. You guys probably know my thoughts about the 1% rule. But when you hear the 1% rule, what do you think, Matt?
I don't pay attention to it. It's not a number that I've ever really considered. The way that I've always accounted for any of my properties and figuring out income, figuring out sales price, figuring out any of that stuff, it always came down to what is the other stuff that's available in the market and how great of a return can I have? And what are my other sources of return? My other sources of return, they were never, high yield savings account through ING, I think was the option at the time. And it was in the 4s and, the S&P, and it was, but I just gone through the tech bomb of 2000 and looking and saying, yeah, well, I don't want to wait 4 years for recovery. I don't know what recovery looks like. That was new and fresh to me. And it looked like, hey, real estate just goes up when the economy goes up. Inflation is a feature, not a bug. And so it just matters how much money I'm going to put into my pocket on a monthly basis. So the 1% rule, in all honesty, I've never paid any attention to it, never looked at it, never balanced it, never tried to figure out, hey, this is what this is worth. And so I had an agent actually talk to me and she said, all right, so here's how I think you should be looking at your portfolio.
No,
like, all ears, all ears, Newtard, all ears. And so I start listening to it, and she's like, it's called the 1% rule. And I go, I know exactly what you're explaining, and I won't make that little.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so that's what I think about the 1% rule is I think what you've come up with from a yield calculation perspective is by far more valuable and less likely to get you in trouble.
Yeah. I love that. Dion, any thoughts on the 1% rule?
Yeah. So I have two things when it comes to the 1% rule. And the first one is I actually literally have a copy and paste in my notes on my phone, my response to anything that brings up the 1% rule and how it's flawed and outdated. So first, how it's flawed. 1% rule. What if your interest rate is 3% or your interest rate is 9%? What if there's an HOA? What if you're in Florida property taxes or Florida insurance or Washington taxes and Washington insurance, right? So it doesn't give you the data to say good or bad deal. Bad deal. Matt's absolutely right. It's yield. What am I going to be making? How much did it cost to acquire? What's the cash flow going to look like? But here's where it's outdated. It served a purpose. It had a purpose when it still wasn't the metric you would use to decide good or bad deal. It was, do I look at the deal or not? In 2010, when there were millions of foreclosures, and I'm not exaggerating that number, millions of foreclosures.
That's right.
You needed a metric to go, okay, of these thousands of deals in my market, my local market, how do I get down to maybe the 100 I'm going to look at?
Exactly.
These ones that hit the 1% rule, I'll look at those. Not all of them are going to make sense, but some will. So it has a flaw. And then the other thing is, so it made sense in 2010. Are there thousands of deals in your local market? Are you that? I could look, there's probably 10 in my market that I would take a look at that you need to narrow down. And if you don't have the time to look at 10 deals that take about 90 seconds to figure out, is this a deeper dive or not? You shouldn't be investing.
Yeah. My problem with the 1% rule is it's sexy, simple, and dangerous. It's sexy because it feels like you're really doing something. You're sounding intelligent, right? Oh, I follow the 1% rule. Oh, that sounds like magic. It's simple. It's really easy to do. It's rents for $1,000. It's got to cost $100,000. But it is perhaps one of the most dangerous things I've ever seen because it is sexy and simple. It leads to bad decisions. It leads to the wrong part of town. It leads to, and again, I say this as somebody who admittedly used the 1% rule for the first couple of years. I did not stumble across yield until the 1% rule was proven to be dangerous and sexy and all of those bad things. So I hate the 1% rule. I think it's, if I could do a memory wipe of the 1% rule of everyone, I would sign up for that. It is extremely dangerous.
Just pass go. We're just adding another one to the stack. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's just another one came in.
Just another one came in. Pass go. Welcome being a landlord.
There you go. Why don't we talk about, why don't we take Brian's next question and kind of tweak it? Remind folks what you did as far as acquisitions your first 5 years, right? Let's start, Dion. Let's start with Dion. Your first purchase on. We won't talk about the 2 years of not doing anything, but your first purchase is day zero. What did the next 5 years look like?
So a lot of times when the topic of how much the first 5 years sucked comes in, I don't remember that it sucked. I can look back and say it sucked because when I started, I said 10-year plan. The fact that I had my mindset on if I was starting today, I would be thinking, if I was starting today, I am in the graduating class of 2035. Right. So if I'm looking at 2035, there's so many things that can happen between now and then that I don't really care too much about what happened in 26, 27. It's close on that first deal, start saving, figure out, okay, where do I get a better lease? How do I word my sentences when I'm enforcing late fees? Like all the things that we have to learn. I'm kind of glad I only had one deal in 2 years. And then one deal 2 years later, and then one deal a year and a half later. So from closing to 3.5 years later, I had 2 more properties. If it had gone faster, I think there would have been more opportunity for bigger mistakes. I mean, I made plenty of mistakes, but there would have been more opportunity for it. And there would have been that frustration of, I'm working full time. I'm raising 3 kids. I'm hunting for deals. Yeah, I want the dopamine hit of closing on a property. But do we all remember the stress when we start making the offers of, what if I get outbid? What if they don't take my offer? And then it goes to, oh no, what if they take my offer? Now I've got to do an appraisal and inspection. I got to meet the tenants. I got like all this stuff I got to learn. And so if we space that stress out, I don't think in the first 10 years after I closed on the duplex, like when I decided, okay, I'm going to do this, that I ever thought, I wish this happened faster. Right. I think around year 7 or 8, I actually stopped and said, okay, I'm not going to buy anymore. I'm going to pay off a mortgage. I was at 4. You were allowed to have 4. I didn't research DSCR like it made sense. I actually took a break from buying to tackle debt, because if I had stacked it on like the financial firefighter, right, 14 in the first 2 years by emptying out retirement accounts, he'll tell you that was very stressful. He had some turnovers, some evictions, some I'm glad I took it slow. And so, yeah, it sucks. It's slow. You don't notice a big change, but I never cared because I had that 10-year mindset.
There you go. What did your first 5 years look like, Matt?
Condo purchase, house hacked it. That was the only way I got approved, was with a roommate tenant that signed a lease that I could then use that as income. That was the only way I could get that condo. So we signed on there, was there for about 2 years, got a $70,000 special assessment that almost blew me up. And then I was able to sell it, get reduced fees and things like that, and walk out of there with very little money, but I'd saved up other money over time. So I then bought a single family, house hacked that. And then I bought a triplex and a waterfront property, on a lake. And that was my first 5 years. And then hits, that's right around 07. And then the tanking begins, and Fannie Freddie changes from 10 to 4. And I'm stuck with 5 mortgages and I can't buy anything, because even if I sell one, guess what? They're all basically underwater. Or I had 4 and then I actually got a 5th, but they were all underwater. And I couldn't sell anything. They were all underwater. There was literally nothing I could do.
Yeah.
And so I was stuck. I was stuck with not being able to sell anything, not being able to recapitalize anything, because everything was worth 10 or 20% less. Don't worry, just buy it and you can refi it. Wrong.
Yeah.
Wrong.
Yeah.
Wrong. And then had to deal with 8 paying tenants in August and 3 in September and 1 in October. That's what we went down, 831. And it literally took 60 days. And now we're financially set to be able to handle that for a time. Not leaving too much powder on the sidelines, but having some properties free and clear, having others paid down substantially, to where I can go get 20% of a house's value and I could still lever it to that point and still get debt, or 30%. But yeah, the first 5 years were basically five going into 5 properties, and then going into my 6th, because I sold my condo, going into my 6th and just going, it dropped and I couldn't get my 6th, and I was dead in the water. So 5 years and 7% interest rates. Remember, Mike? 7% interest, 7.5. Went to go do
nines on seconds. Yeah.
Yep. Went to go do a refi with Countrywide, and Countrywide, before they were bought by Bank of America for 9 cents, they were offering me a mortgage at 10.5.
Yeah. Crazy. Yeah. So our first, I should always say ours, because it's Olivia and I's. The first year we bought 3 properties, 2 houses and a duplex, a house and a house on the same lot. So, and then we were out of money and did nothing probably the next year. Then we did a cash out refi, which I wrote about on Norris Drive. I turned my first property into an alligator, which is so stupid. Got smarter on the second refi. Basically, I refied the second, then refied the third. I just started playing with the money. I stayed levered to about 75, 80%. At the end of 5 years, we had 8 units. And we did about 1 deal every 9 months or so. But yeah, we had 8 units. And then year 5, it's 2006, we buy in 2001. So 2006, we start to sell everything, because I went to a Bruce Norris event and he told me California was going to crash. And over the next 9, maybe 10 months, we sold everything. And by the end of year 6, we had 80 units, right? Kind of went the other direction. So, and we were really happy to be out of our houses in apartments for the next 3 or 4 years.
What made you listen to that crash, bro?
Well, first off, he wasn't he would not be labeled a crash bro because he had written a report before that talking about the California boom. So he was going against his previous report, and he had charts and he had data. And he was putting his own money to work. Bruce Norris is the gentleman's name, if I didn't say it.
Yep.
He ran a big real estate company in Inland Empire was where his haunts were. So he's kind of like Dan Bird, who's the stock guy. He does all the stock stuff because he wants to be better. That was Bruce, right? He had built a company from scratch to hundreds of millions of dollars. And so not a crash bro, would never call him that, but he called the crash correctly and he had the data to back it up. I didn't trust him, but I was smart enough to know he introduced a concept I never heard of called the affordability index. And it made sense to me, right? The lower that number is means the less people can afford it. I'm like, okay, I get that. But I had no idea what Fresno's affordability was. I just knew that Norris Drive I bought for 107, rented for 1,100. Yes, the 1% rule. Still rented for 1,100, but now is worth 260. And I'm like, how does this make sense? It just doesn't make sense. And then I realized bad debt structures, teaser loans, and everything Bruce said was going to blow up because in 2006, 51% of the loans originated were ARMs. 18% of them were these blow up toxic pick a payment loans. And I'm like, oh my God, 2006, 2 years, 2008, kablooey. So I paid to go to the event because he had a track record. He was putting his own money to work. He had thousands of charts, hundreds of charts. And then I went home and did my homework and decided probably within 7 days that we had to sell everything. Because again, remember my story. I just lost over 150 grand in the stock market, like yesterday. And I didn't want to lose $1 million in real estate.
If
so
you
I'm out.
If you'd not lost that money in the market, would you have done the same thing with your houses?
You know, that's such a great question. Nobody's ever asked me that. I got to be honest. I don't think I go to that event.
I agree with you.
Because the event was the California crash.
I agree with you.
And I would have just said, oh, this guy's some blowhard. You know, we're killing it. I would have been like everybody else.
Yeah, I agree.
But because I had that crazy loss, and I remember my stupid ego saying, I'm smarter than Warren Buffett.
Yeah.
If you ever say that to yourself, you're the idiot. Let me just tell you that right now. I don't care. You're an idiot. And I say that owning that. But yeah, that loss actually made me go to that event. And I'm thinking about this out loud. I'm thankful for that loss because losing 150 grand
saved you millions.
It's million. And I would still be working.
Yeah.
I would be working. One rental at a time would not exist.
The reason
be schlepping software.
The reason I asked the question that I did was because I believe that it's even bigger than that. I believe that you believed him because he had written to the contrary just a year earlier.
Correct.
And he was a slave to the data.
Correct.
not to himself.
He wasn't emotional. He was like,
it was very much, I wrote it all up. Here's what the last 2, 3, 4 years has been. I'm seeing a shift. Here's what I've identified what the shift is. And here's where I believe that shift is going to go. And that's what gives you credibility, not the always pumper, you know?
Yeah. He's never.
So here's a question, Zebra. I don't know that I've ever asked you this. Mm-hmm. In 2006, when you were getting ready to sell, what type of debt did you have on the properties that you owned that you then sold?
So I had 30-year, everything was fixed. So I had 30-year debt on all of them. I had seconds on 4 of them.
Out of
8.
Okay.
So half of them had seconds. So half of them were levered to 90%.
Okay.
The other 4 were probably 70-ish%. Yeah. I was highly levered.
So highly levered, I think that to me would make me think if I'm in this situation, other people are borrowing 105%.
Right.
Correct.
Half the people out there have adjustable rates. I can absolutely see that would be a time to get out. That's why when I look at my portfolio now and I think, okay, if I saw indicators of a crash in residential, what would it take? It would take me having adjustable rate.
Correct.
It would take me being highly levered and I'm like 30% levered. Like it would take all kinds of things that don't exist for me to say, I'm going to get out of mine to get into something else.
You know what really did it for me? Because so this is a true story. I don't think I've ever said this. So I go to the event, I do my homework, I decide it's time to sell. But let's be honest, I was only going to sell Norris Drive because Norris Drive was an alligator. But what happened when I sold Norris Drive is the buyer was an investor who got a pick a payment loan, looked like he was going to cash flow $400 because the interest rate was like 1.9 for the first 2 years.
Sure.
But I knew what was coming. And I'm like, this is how the morons are affording these prices.
That's exactly right.
This is, and as soon as that deal closed, I listed the next two and the next two and the next two, and 7 out of the 8 purchases were all pick a payment. Fresno, California was crushed by these pick a payment. It's why Norris Drive goes from 300 to 75.
Yeah.
Because all of these properties were just, when I saw that guy close the loan and he's telling me he's an investor who's going to cash flow $400, I'm like, Bruce is right. We're all morons. We're just fucking stupid.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm out. I'm not playing. I'm going to take my, what are they? Greenhouses. I'm going to take all my greenhouses and buy red hotels. I'm out.
Yeah. Exactly right.
It was crazy. It was crazy. Had a question about my marathon. The total marathon took 5 hours. The first half marathon was 2 hours. The next, 8 miles or so were about 2 hours. And then the last 4 miles were extremely painful and took an hour. And 15-minute miles. Not proud of that, but damn it, I finished. So there we go.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's done.
Awesome.
That's all I got to say. We probably got time for one more question. Did you guys pick up on a question we can riff on?
What do you guys want?
I'm just going through the list. You know what? Why do we do this? We haven't done this in a while. Why don't you guys just take a minute to say what you're thankful for? We'll wrap this up with kind of some New Year's cheer and bring us home. Dion, closing thoughts. Tell us what you think and where can people find you?
You find me here on YouTube, Dion Talk Financial Freedom. And very selfishly, I want to thank everybody for every comment on every video.
Yes.
Like these guys, I still answer every comment. So if you leave a comment on a 3-year-old video,
yep,
I still think somebody saw my content. Maybe it's helping.
Yeah. Love that. Matt?
Same. Excited to be a part of the community. This is what created the avenue. When I started with you, Mike, I didn't have a YouTube channel.
No,
I didn't have social media. I didn't have a Facebook page. I hated them all.
Me too.
And still hate them all. But I love what it gives me. It gives me the opportunity to give back, to help other investors. Like Dion, I mean, that you guys were great mentors in that from that perspective, being, answering people back, all of them back. And yes, my answers are as long-winded as I am on a microphone. But it's because if you took the time to write out a question, I'm going to give you my full answer. So that's just, and I don't have enough content that I have enough questions that I can't do that still. So we'll still do that. But yeah, just grateful for the audience, grateful for the opportunity to spend time with them. They forced me to think through things, which is good. Where it's just like, every once in a while when you've done something 70 or 80 times, you're like, I don't need to consider what Warren Buffett would say about this. And then you're just like, you know what? I'm going to bring that idea to the audience and then get smacked down pretty quick, and so humbling. I enjoy it. I enjoy being part of people's journey. And that's the thing that I remain the most thankful for when it comes to this opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's so wonderful. Again, I appreciate, again, like all of you, I still respond to every comment, typically very short answers because I get, a lot every day.
A lot.
Yeah. But again, I still answer. The other thing is I'm not blocking as many people as I used to. So that's pretty awesome for me. I only block for crypto scams, bots. I block all of those. If you ever hate on one of my speakers, you're going to get blocked because, again, they came on this channel to share their thoughts. And if you hate on someone just to be, mean, you're going to get blocked because I don't need that nonsense in my life. Or if you're a crash bro, if you're a moron who's not open to thinking there's another way, I just don't have time for you. These two guys may want to battle out with you. I don't care if you exist. So I just block you and have a great day. I do want to say that as of this morning, I'm probably best known for my best-selling book, One Rental at a Time. This growing YouTube channel, which, oh, by the way, just crossed 66,000 yesterday.
Unbelievable.
66,000. Yeah. That article in Fast Company brought on 700 or 800 folks in a 24 or 48-hour period. So
Awesome.
Lance Lambert, you're amazing. Thank you for the opportunity. But I do think my school community is going to be what I am most known for in a year or two, because it's all of us doing it together, go-givers, helping, networking, giving free education and the like. So if you haven't joined school, do yourself a favor. We just went over 350 members.
Awesome.
And I hope to see you all guys in Vegas. I know you guys will be there, and I can't wait. So Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. We'll talk next week. Later.
Later.
Ciao.